It's showtime. What's up, good people? And welcome to the Frank Harris Show, the biggest, the baddest, and the best show on earth. And we got my boy Dominican E in the building. E, it's a lot going on right now. Basketball free agency has opened up. Some surprises, some shocks. E, let's get right to it. E, let's get right to it. E, what's good? E, you good?
Yeah, I'm good, Frank. Let's get right to it, Frank. Because a lot of players moving around. Let's get right to it.
E, right out the gate, E. Paul George, right out the gate, E. Paul George, Philadelphia 76ers. That was the biggest chess piece so far that fell. Paul George, Philadelphia 76ers. I repeat, Paul George will be leaving the Clippers and playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. Two things, E. One, what are the Clippers doing? Two, Philadelphia 76ers, are they championship contenders now? Are they in the hunt, E? Let me know, E.
Let me start off by saying yes. Philadelphia is definitely in the hunt. Anytime you have the big fella, it's a matter of health with him. And they got, a tremendous young player, Maxey. And now you add Paul George, a perimeter all-star player, one of the guys that can, play that wing position, give them some extra scoring. I think they're a legitimate contender right now in the NBA conference, in the Eastern Conference right now. Yes, that is a fact.
I'm glad you changed your tune, though, bro. Because before you was talking about they were already NBA contenders. Because anytime you got the big fella Joel Embiid, you are going to be a championship contender. No, they were not. And then you also said, just for clarity, that they went to the conference finals against Kawhi Leonard on that shot. No, that was not the conference finals. The last time they've been to the conference finals was 2001. So don't tell me that the Philadelphia 76ers have been a team that people thought were contenders to win. Now, the real question is, does Paul George push it over the top, E? That's the real question. You say yes. He pushes them over the top. Are they the best? Are they as good as Boston, right? Or are they a notch below Boston?
I think right now they're still a notch below Boston, right? And you still got Milwaukee. This first year with Dame there, I think this was, getting to know each other. I think this is the year, the breakout year. Milwaukee also takes a notch up in that conference when we're talking about the conference finals in the Eastern Conference. I think Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Boston. Those are three teams.
Yo, hold on. Okay, so again, now let's bring another one in. Okay, so I think Paul George pushes them over the top, and I think Paul George pushes them to the Boston level. And I think there are three teams right now in the Eastern Conference that can all win the championship. Okay, and I don't think Milwaukee's one of them. Just for clarity. Okay. Dame Lillard, not the right fit. I'm not sure Milwaukee's one of them. I think obviously Boston, dangerous, very good. They also re-signed Derek White. They just gave Tatum the big $315 million deal. Boston, still very good. The Knicks, we talk about acquisitions. The Knicks, big time re-signing guys. The Knicks are a team to be reckoned with. The Knicks made some big moves in the offseason as well thus far. And then lastly, E, I think that the 76ers now are over the hump with Joel Embiid, barring bad health, assuming that Paul George and Embiid are healthy. And that's a tough assumption because they've been unhealthy.
Yes.
But assuming health, re-signing Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George, who told you proudly that he's a perennial number two, right? He told you this. He said he likes to be a number two. So he'll be a great number two to Joel Embiid's number one. The big fella is probably the most dominant force in the NBA. Probably the best two-way player in the NBA.
So let me ask you,
when healthy.
Finish up. Let
Go
me
ahead.
ask you this. So let me ask you this.
When healthy, best in the NBA. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So adding Paul George, did that stunt Maxey's growth?
No, let me tell you why. Because Paul George is a guy that can help facilitate, because Maxey's not a great facilitator, right? And so that takes some of that responsibility off of Maxey's plate, because Maxey's at his best when he's attacking, driving, and playing to score. So I think Paul George is such a Swiss Army knife kind of player, E. He can score. He can pass if you need him to pass. He can defend the other team's best perimeter player, right? 1 through 3, 1 through 4, actually. Again, he knocked down 39% of his threes last year, so he's shooting the three ball real well. And so I just think that he can do a little bit of everything, and I think he serves that team perfectly, E. They also re-signed Oubre, who I felt is a nice little piece, too, to keep in the fold. But I think Paul George is an absolute incredible pickup for them. And I think Boston, beware. Okay, they need to continue to build around those guys. But Boston, beware. Great pickup for the Philadelphia 76ers. Like I said, I like what the Knicks did, too, with Mikal Bridges and re-signing their guy, Anunoby. But 76ers right now, big prize. So that's one of the big transactions thus far. E, let me switch gears now to another big transaction. What you thinking about Klay Thompson right now? Klay Thompson just signed a 3-year, $50 million deal to go play with the Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Talk about that, E. What are your thoughts about that?
Great acquisition by the Dallas Mavericks. Great acquisition. Is a guy that now, can space the court, right? Kyrie driving lanes. Luka can drive to, either open up lanes for Luka to drive to the basket. Now it opens up the lob game, with the kid from Duke. So now this opens up the court for these guys. So I think it's a great acquisition.
Well, the kid from Duke's name, by the way, is Derek Lively, just as an FYI. Lively, not the kid from Duke, but okay.
Not bad.
They also lost Derek Jones. They lost Derek Jones, right? So you lose something on defense as well. Look, I think we're overhyping the pickup a little bit. Good pickup, right? Klay's old, right? It was Klay a couple of years ago. It'd be different. Klay's old. He does add value offensively, especially spacing the floor. He'll get a lot of looks at the basket because Luka Doncic is such a great passer, right? And creates so many double teams and mismatches. And so does Kyrie. Kyrie's such a great driver, gets to the basket, demands double teams and demands help. So I think he'll get a lot of great open shots. But just right, they got probably the worst perimeter defense right now in the NBA. I mean, Kyrie don't play no D. We know that. Luka Doncic is probably the worst defensive player in all of the NBA. We just saw that in the playoffs this year. And Klay is just old, right? I mean, old Klay, not old Klay, but Klay early in his career was a phenomenal perimeter defender, right? He's one of the reasons why Curry was able to do what he did, because he guarded the team's best perimeter players quite often. But he's old now, right? After having an Achilles, an ACL, all these, I don't know if he had Achilles, but he had all these injuries. I think he had Achilles too, right? Yeah, all these injuries. Yeah, Achilles and ACL, losing 2 years. He's definitely not the same player on defense, okay? So right now, your perimeter is going to get torched. I mean, who's guarding the other team's best perimeter player? Who? Yeah. And you didn't bring Derek Jones back.
Yeah, I think this offseason, they must emphasize on defense. Dallas, you want to make it back to the championship, you got to emphasize on defense. Luka, come on, Luka, you're a great player, but you're trash on defense. Trash.
I mean, that's an understatement. He may be the worst defensive player I've ever seen in my life, Eric. I mean, he may be that bad on defense. And a lot of it is just no effort, right?
Him and James Harden.
The mentality, the attitude. I think James Harden at least get you some steals from time to time. At least James Harden get you some steals because he's savvy enough to get some steals. Luka Doncic gives you no effort on purpose, right? And it's almost like he's thumbing his nose up, saying, I'm Luka Doncic and I can do what I want to do. But anyway, I want to talk about him. We talked about the Klay transaction. I'm not as for it. It's cool. Good transaction, right? They lost Tim Hardaway, left. They got rid of him. Good transaction, good floor spacer, but defensively atrocious. Good pickup. You know what I mean? I like it. You know what I mean? I think it's a good pickup. Now, this is the one I want to talk a little bit more about, okay? Chris Paul declined the $30 million option. Well, not declined, excuse me. The Warriors declined. Oh, hold on. Before I do this, let me go back for a second. How can I not? I'm remiss because I didn't mention this. It's the end of an era. I mean, Klay, the Splash Brothers, The Splash, How can I not touch upon the Splash Brothers,
I was hoping you go past that, but go ahead, Frank. You're go ahead, Frank.
Oh, the era. Yo, by the way, I think Klay did fit in with them, especially offensively. Steph Curry is going to struggle a bit more without Klay, but the end of an era. And by the way, the real big three, that's besides LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, no one looks at Klay, Steph, and Draymond as a big three, but they're probably the best big three that we've had, Eric. And they're probably even better than the LeBron big three because they got 4 rings. No one looks at them as a big three, but what big three in the last how many years have been as successful as they've been? 4 rings, Eric. Dynasty.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a valid point. Those, they've been together for a long time.
That's the big three. E.
Yeah, they've been together for a long time. It's sad that
And by the way, and your boy Steph Curry's dirty work. I'm gonna let you know, because you know what? He went to the front office and he told them, "Yo, bring Draymond back," because they didn't want to bring Draymond back. We know that's why Bob Myers left the GM, right? He said, "Bring Draymond back," and Bob Myers went to TV because Bob Myers did not want to break up the Splash Brother, break up the Dynasty. He went to TV because he didn't want to deal with this mess. He didn't want to re-sign Draymond, but Steph Curry went to him and said, "I want Draymond back." Draymond is his protector, right? Draymond protects Steph Curry. But dirty work. He didn't go to them and tell them, bring Klay back, 3-year, $50 million.
Nasty work, Frank. Nasty work. Listen, Klay, listen, we got to develop some young guys. Some young guys got to step up. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. They got to step up.
No, you're not going to be all right. Just so you know, it's the end of this dynasty as we know it. Just so you know, the Golden State Warriors are done. You know, it was like when Tim Duncan and those boys broke up, they had their run. It's over now. Woo! Done. Right? The light-skinned boys done. Just so you know.
I know you're happy about
that.
But
I had to bring it up. Let's get into the Chris Paul part. Chris Paul, they declined his $30 million option, which made sense, right? He's not a $30 million player anymore. And then Chris Paul then goes out and he signs with the San Antonio Spurs. I don't understand that signing, okay? I understand it from the Spurs perspective, but from a Chris Paul perspective, I don't get that. There are so many other teams out there in the NBA that need point guards and teams that are closer, teams that he can even come off the bench and play like a 6-man role, a 7-man role, a backup point, and try to get a ring. Chris Paul needs a ring.
It's over, Frank. It's over for that ring. He's over for that ring. This is a great sign for San Antonio. You're bringing a guy, a veteran guy, to help these young guys that San Antonio develop. That's a great pickup by San Antonio. It's over for that ring. It's over for that ring, Frank. He realizes it. He knows it. He's a Salau. I've always said it. So now he's just going to mentor these young guys, which is great for him. He'll end up coaching one day, so that's great for him.
That's the only way it makes sense if he wants to coach with the Spurs. It's not great for him, Eric.
It makes sense. It's over, Frank. Keep not winning a ring. It's over, Frank. It's not winning. It's over.
Eric.
It's over. Chris Paul, it's over.
Eric. The guy legacy-wise could be a top 2 to 3 point guard and maybe a top 4 to 5 point guard in the history of the NBA with a ring.
Frank.
Eric, with one ring, he might be better than your guys here, Thomas.
How can you put him in the top 5, top anything if he's in the tail of his career and if he gets a ring? There's no way, Frank. There's no way. Listen, great for San Antonio.
Jason Kidd.
Great for San Antonio. Jason Kidd contribute to that Dallas Mavericks team. This guy is
what you can contribute as a 6-man?
No, he ain't no way.
You can contribute as a 6-man.
Frank, good hire by the San Antonio, good pickup by the San Antonio Spurs. He's gonna end up coaching one day, mentor these young guys, the Wembanyama.
Listen, I don't think he's gonna coach. I think you're wrong with the coaching part. He's too entrepreneurial to be a coach, and he said repeatedly he wants to be an owner recently.
Okay,
hold on. He's repeatedly said, I want to be an owner, okay? And he's very entrepreneurial off the court. So I couldn't imagine him being a coach. And listen, and all of his boys are not coaches. D-Wade, right? Carmelo, LeBron. You couldn't imagine LeBron coaching. LeBron's probably wants to own the team too. So I don't believe he's going to be a coach. And by the way, great pickup for the Spurs. And let me tell you why it's a great pickup for the Spurs.
That's what I said.
I'm agreeing with that. But let me tell you why. I go deeper than you, though, right?
Come on, Frank.
I go deeper.
Go ahead.
Pause. But listen, you just talking about it's a great pickup. But look, let's go to him historically. Let me tell you why he's a great pickup, Wembanyama needs a veteran person to teach him about the NBA, how to play the game, etc. Okay? But let me say this, though. Look at Chris Paul's track record from that perspective. I'm going to give you another guy who a team bought in. Chris Paul came and he transformed a guy into a first-team All-NBA player. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Chris Paul went to OKC, and by the way, and they say to this day, Shai calls him to this day for advice, looks at him as a mentor, big brother, etc. Chris Paul was there for a few years, and his impact on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was tremendous. That's one. And I'm going to give you another example of a fool, right, who did not allow Chris Paul to mentor and hold them accountable, etc., was James Harden. Yeah. James Harden could have been that kind of player, Eric, which Shai is. James Harden could have been a champion. Chris Paul tried to hold James Harden accountable. And James Harden instead wanted to hang out with little baby, give him honey buns, you understand what I'm saying, and do all that kind of foolishness, right? Giving little baby honey buns and hanging out and doing silly stuff, playing no defense and not learning how to play the game the right way, take care of your body and win. And he didn't listen, and his career went this way. Shai listened, and his career went that way. So Chris Paul, to me, is as good an acquisition as the San Antonio Spurs could have gotten, especially since they're not trying to win right now. That's why I don't understand from the Chris Paul perspective where it doesn't make sense. They're preparing for next year's draft, which is supposedly the best draft in years, okay, with guys like Cooper Flagg at the top of that draft, who's, almost a lock to be at number one, and some of the other really good young players, Dylan Harper at the top of that draft. But Bailey, Edgecombe, right, a New York kid, but I mean, Chris Paul, bro, you going to a franchise, they're not even trying to win, Like, I don't know if it ended off bad, but I could have even seen him going back to Phoenix. Phoenix is dying for a point guard. Yeah. Like, he could have given them some mentoring, but some help with the point spot.
It's over, Frank. It's over. He realized it, Frank. It's over. He realized
it. And so, I'm going to get into another one, another one that I thought was a big one. You ready?
I'm listening.
Hartenstein. The Knicks losing Hartenstein.
Yes, that's a great pickup. Great pickup by the
OKC Thunder. But 3 year, $87 million. Is he a $30 million guy? Wow. I mean, that's a little less than 30, but man, 30 would be 90, but he had 87. Oh my goodness. I mean, really?
In today's market, Frank, that's about right, Frank, in today's market. Today's market, that's about right for a guy like him.
29 a year, Ooh.
About right for a guy like him, Frank. The NBA throwing it down, so.
But by the way, I tell you, boy, so Presti to me is the best GM, right, in the NBA. Conley's good too. But Presti to me is by far the best, okay? And the way he is manipulated, maneuvered, got picks, you know what I mean? Used OKC as a place to dump salary and translated that salary dump into first round after first round after first round pick. And now they built a team, that won the competitive Western Conference last year. And you can argue, coming back, right? They may be the favorites coming back with the team that they're bringing back. And you had Hartenstein now. My big question for them was always having a big man. The issue was, as much as I like Chet is more of a outside three-point shooter. I like Chet, but Chet is more of that.
Chet is a unicorn. He's a guy that can play 4. Can't really 5 is probably too much for him, the wear and tear.
Physically.
Yeah, physically. He's a unicorn. Put him at the 4. He could be able to space the court. So yeah, Chet is good for that. And then they got the kid from the Knicks, which is a great pickup for OKC. Great pickup.
Yeah, I thought Hartenstein, I think that's going to be, in my opinion, one of the biggest, and it's a little quiet. It's not under the radar per se, but it's a little quiet. But I think that pickup is going to be colossal when you look at that team right now, how that team is built. And I thought they were one big player away, from really, really contending for a championship. I don't think anybody thought they would win the championship last year. I mean, they had a great record, regular season, but they weren't ready to win a championship. But Hartenstein is a very, very good pickup. So I think OKC is going to be a team a team for people to be very afraid of, to be very concerned with. I think they'll be very good. And then let's talk about the New York Knicks, man. The New York Knicks, right, made a big trade for Mikal Bridges. So right now, the Knicks are Eric, Villanova all over again, right? I mean, you got Brunson, DiVincenzo, you got Mikal Bridges, and you got Josh Hart. Okay, and those guys won national championships in college, right? Some of them won 2.
All you need now is Jay Wright.
That's what they need is Jay Wright. I told you that, That's what they wait for Jay. Right. But they never gonna get rid of Thibodeau though. Thibodeau is their guy. As you know, Thibodeau is the guy. That's their guy. But all they need is Jay Wright to bring the band back together again. But I tell you, What I was surprised with is they was able to still sign Anunoby. And that's going to be interesting because I really feel, though, like Bridges and Anunoby kind of play the same position, right? I don't know that Bridges is really a 2.
But Anunoby's a more defensive guy as well, right? More defensive guy.
And you give him $212 million. You're not giving somebody $212 million to play defense. And
also,
by the way,
and also too,
so who starts next year?
Jason Hart is coming off the bench. He's coming off the bench. That's the guy.
So who plays the 2? Who's your 2 guard?
I'm going with DiVincenzo.
So you starting Anunoby at the 4?
I mean,
but hold on. You can't start DiVincenzo, bruh. You got to play Bridges at the 2, right? Because Randall comes back and Randall's the 4.
Oh yeah, Randall comes back. Back, yeah.
And you got Mitchell Robinson at the 5. So the question is, you got to play. So you got to play. So that's what I'm telling you. I feel like you really got 2 3s, right? You probably could play maybe Bridges at the 2, but he's not really a 2E.
Yeah, but you can throw at times Anunoby in there when they go small ball. You can throw him in there at the 4s at times.
Who are you starting, bro? Who are you starting?
Starting is obviously Brunson, right? You said Mikal Bridges at the 2, Anunoby at the 3, Randall at the 4, and Mitchell Robinson at the 5.
Okay, so you starting Bridges at the 2 because before you got DiVincenzo at the 2, bro.
Yeah, I mean they intertwine.
They can't interchange. You can't have guys coming off your bench making the money that Mikal Bridges and Anunoby is making. So they got to start.
Yeah, Randall got to come back, healthy, and also they got a nice pickup in the draft. The kid from Marquette, nice pickup, backup point guard. Spell some minutes for my man Brunson. Led the NCAA in assists last year. Great pickup.
Yeah, Tyler Kolek, good player, swaggy kid too.
Yes,
I like his swag. Good player. Went to George Mason first, transferred. I like his game as well. Yeah, I think he's a good player. I think he's an underrated, undersold player. And then, there was some other transactions that transpired that I thought were interested in as well, right? Drummond signed a 2-year deal to go back up Embiid, which I think is good insurance because you're going to assume Embiid is going to get hurt again. Valanciunas, interestingly enough, as well. And I'm bringing up those 2 guys, and those are not big name guys, but let me tell you, I'm bringing those 2 guys up. LeBron James said that he would take $20 million less if the Lakers can go out there and sign some pieces. He wanted Klay. They mentioned Valanciunas. He mentioned James Harden. And they got none of those guys, right? Yeah. And the Lakers are a team that could use big men, okay? So guys like Drummond, guys like Valanciunas. Valanciunas went for $30 million, 3-year, $30 million to go play with the Wizards, right? Drummond took a backup deal to go play with the 76ers. I'm not sure what the Lakers are doing in terms of acquisitions and getting players, but I thought those are 2 big men that they could have gotten.
If you don't know, you in LA, I definitely don't know. You in LA, you should know more. You in LA.
Well, I'm gonna talk about them in a minute, but I'm gonna talk about another transaction before I get to talking about the Lakers, and that's KCP, another guy who I feel like the Lakers could use, right? Yes. KCP to Orlando. That's another guy who I really feel like the Lakers could have used, right? I mean, the Lakers could have used KCP. They should have discouraged D'Angelo Russell from opting in, right? And they should have tried to get KCP. KCP. I mean, that Orlando team, too bad the East is just too good. But that Orlando team is a team that's going to continue to get to a point, right? Yeah. Are they maybe a top 4 team in the East now? Legitimately, maybe 5? Maybe 5.
I say between 5 and 6. I don't think they surpassed the Knicks. You still got Miami there.
Yeah, so I think you're right.
About 6.
Well, Miami's not very good, right? I mean, no Jimmy Butler right now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how good Miami really is right now.
Indiana's pretty good. Indiana's coming along. So
Fool's goal. Siakam is not really good enough, and the point guard Halliburton is good, but he played out of his mind last year. But I don't think that they have guys that can take them over the top. Fool's goal for me.
No, I'm not.
Right?
I'm not saying over the top. I'm saying as far as placement wise in the East. I'm saying they're about.
But I feel like Orlando maybe. I feel like Orlando. You add KCP with some of those other pieces, right? I mean, Paulo Banchero is an emerging star. Very good. Wagner's very good. I mean, they got some very good young players.
Too young, Frank. Too young. They got.
Suggs is good.
They're
Yeah,
too,
okay, yeah.
they're too
But I
young.
do think, but KCP brings some veteran leadership. So yeah. Anyway, I mean that was a good acquisition. E, do you like Toronto re-signing Scotty Barnes, maxing him out?
No, 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 no. What was they thinking? No, 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 no bueno there. I mean, this is a guy that hasn't really done anything.
Well, no, no, hold on. Yo, don't say that. I mean, when you was in love at Suggs that from Gonzaga, rookie of the year in that class was Barnes. He won rookie of the year, okay, and then he made the All-Star game last year.
He did. I mean, I'm saying, but
So don't say he hasn't done anything. I mean that's a little bit off.
look, he won the rookie of the year. Okay, cool. He made an All-Star appearance. I mean, but to sign him, for that amount of money, I mean,
Hey, let me tell why you do it, right? You got to have some hope, right? He's the best player on your roster. And they lost Anunoby, right? They lost Siakam.
yeah,
They lost Van Fleet, the point guard.
yeah.
Hey, I mean, you got to build around somebody, right? I mean, who are they building around? And it's a guy that was rookie of the year. Listen, I'm not a fan of his, Eric, but he's a rookie of the year and he's an all-star 3 years into his NBA career. I mean, that's pretty accomplished.
Yeah, I get that. Rookie of the year, All-Star. Okay, Frank. Yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere. It might as well be with him. I get it, Frank, but I don't like it. I'm just saying you got to start somewhere. Might as well be with him.
Okay. And your boy, I got to bring him up. Tobias Harris. I don't know how the guy keep getting contracts, right?
But because I was just about to mention Tobias Harris. That's my guy, Frank. That's my guy.
But you know what? His bum juiceness caught up with him. And that's why he with the Detroit Pistons right now. They kept trying, E. They kept trying. And all that was out there when it was all said and done. And by the way, the father's done a great job negotiating maximum deal contracts. And the amount of money he's made for a mediocre player is crazy. By the way, shout out to the father. Because the father did his thing in terms of getting them contracts. But you got to be kidding me.
Well,
but now,
I don't think he's a mediocre player, Frank. Let's not call him mediocre, Frank. He's not mediocre, Frank.
Look, I don't want to argue that. Your best case, like, again, it caught up to him. 2 years. You know he was going for the money. Nobody was paying him. No one's going to play for the Pistons. No one wants to go play for that place. That's maybe the worst organization in the NBA. Yeah. You're not going there on purpose. Unless that's the only option and you're just trying to get paid.
2 years, $52 million. That ain't bad. Go ahead, get that money. Get that money, Tobias. Go ahead. Get that money.
Yeah, you're right about get that money. Bum juice.
Listen, shout out to Terrell for negotiating them contracts. Shout out to
He
Terrell.
did that, E. He did that. By the way, the rich get richer, right? Derek White resigns. We thought that was going to happen, right? And it's funny, E. It's funny. The Celtics ownership now is selling the team. I don't know if you saw that. So they got the ring, right? They're selling the team now. So they put the next owner over the second tax apron because you just re-signed White. You re-signed Drew Holiday last year, right, to a big deal. You gave Brown over $300 million, right, last year, and you gave Tatum $315. So right now that team is going to be, after this season, a mess. The amount of luxury tax the new owner is going to have to pay is going to be crazy, okay? So I get it, bro. Yeah, but the salary cap is per year. But not just those four, right? Because you got to remember the stars, right? Brown, Tatum, and they signed Holiday back, and they just signed White. And remember, Porzingis got a big deal too. So I'm telling you, their luxury tax number is going to be sickening. But look, the guy bought the team, I think, for like $360 million or something like that. And it's going to be worth probably over $5 billion, right? The Celtics are such a historic franchise. I get it, right? Man, I tell you, buying an NBA franchise not so long ago, I think they bought them in 2002. The turnover and the amount of money they've made, crazy, the amount of money they've made in a short period. So I would get out too and make your money and leave this, dumpster fire with all of this luxury tax in somebody else's lap, right? And go enjoy your money. Crazy. They passed the Lakers, right? I mean, the Lakers must be sick. The Lakers must be throwing up in their mouth right now. Hey, so before we go, so last thing, so Scotty Barnes got his money, right? They maxed him out. Now, the worst team in the NBA, the Detroit Pistons, are talking about maxing out Cade Cunningham. giving him the max deal, E. You know what I mean? Would you give him 200 million, 200 and plus million? So E. So last topic, E, before we go for today, just wanted to do something. I wanted to do something exciting and quick on the draft. Kevin Porter Jr. signed a 2-year deal with the Clippers. Thoughts? You know, Kevin Porter Jr. was the one who got in trouble, right? He beat up his girlfriend pretty badly, or allegedly. Allegedly, let me not say beat up. Allegedly, the hotel. I think she broke her ribs. Face was all, like, it was brutal, right? Brutal. And they had footage of her running out the room, etc. He got banished to Greece for the rest of this season. He's had a lot of issues, right? He's had a lot of issues in the past. Clippers bringing him in for a 2-year deal. What are your thoughts about that, E? 1,000%, the answer is no to me. Okay. And it's not because of the one incident. The one incident was atrocious, obviously, but it's a pattern of behavior. And, you know, the old proverbial, right? A person is who they are, right? You can't teach a dog new tricks and all that kind of stuff, right? All of those proverbs. And look, historically, man, you win with high character guys. And one thing he doesn't seem to be is a high character guy. Okay. So, you know, E, and this is the irony, E. We talked about all of these transactions, E, and there's so many more, right? But we forgot to talking about transactions before we go, E. James Harden did a 2-year, $70 million deal, right? So the Clippers bought Harden back. Okay. And by the way, and they're also working on a trade for Westbrook, which hasn't happened yet. But Westbrook is probably going to be in Denver because allegedly Jokic has been wanting to play with Westbrook for years. But anyway, E, James Harden, 2-year, $35 million, bro. Crazy, right? I ain't a coach, but I've been saying that forever. You know how I feel about that guy. You cannot ever. Oh, Singletary. He was talking about Vernon Davis. Yes, Singletary. Singletary said that. Can't run with that guy. And by the way, what are the Clippers doing? You get rid of Paul George, who's, by the way, was your more bankable and reliable all-star. You're going into a new arena, the Intuit Dome. This new arena you're spending $2 billion for. You re-sign Kawhi, who's always hurt, Eric, right, to a 3-year, $152 million deal. And the reason why you don't re-sign George is because you tell George, we can't pay you more than Kawhi, right? And because George wanted to stay home, but they told him that. Then you let Westbrook go. You re-sign Harden. What are they doing, bro? Well, Lawrence Frank ain't doing his job.